Fox tonight, Empire returns.
Preach.
Be there for every heart-stopping,
The car pump, it was me.
jaw-dropping
Lucius Lyon is missing.
moment.
I really wish you wouldn't fight this.
Then,
and yelling louder than anybody in the entire room. Well, honey, that cool with me. The name is Topsy Washington, and I love to party. As a matter of fact, when God created the earth on the seventh day, He didn't rest no child. P-C-A-R-T-I-E-T, party. Now, let me tell y'all about this party I went to. When I say uptown, I mean way, 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 way uptown. Somewhere between 125th Street. Inside was the largest collection of black colored New York Americans you ever want to see. One corner got Nat Turner's and champagne at Earthy. Other, Burt Williams and Malcolm X discussing extensionism as it relates to the shuffleball chain. But Jemima and Angela Davis was in the kitchen going off about South Africa, and the facts sat down. We started to work them 88s, and then Boop joined in, and Stevie and Louie and everybody joined in. I tell you, all the children dancing to their rhythms, their own definition, celebrating the cultural madness. Started to shake and the ground, it started to move, and before anybody knew what was happening, the whole place lifted up and went flying through the earth, defying all logic and limitations, and went spinning until it disappeared. Hey, right, girls, the party going on, and that's why when I walked, my hips sashayed because I was dancing to the music, and whereas I used to get into a rage anytime anybody was fine, all I gotta do is an attitude. Give it a light. I am thinking, now we still got him. There, my God, our smile, our eyes, things that need. God, that was everybody. Don't waste your time. Label, time. That's what I was to you. All of that.
Very superstitious.
Greetings. My name is Anaya Lee Bradsher, a senior psychology student from Burlington, North Carolina, and I humbly serve as the 83rd Miss North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University.
And good evening. My name is Quashawn Jenkins, a graduating senior from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and I serve as the 9th Mr. North Carolina A&T State University.
We would like to welcome you to the final program of the Boss Up Initiative. Today's students, tomorrow's leaders. The topics will include, but are not limited to, Black women in leadership, being a double minority, gender biases, and societal trends. After we finish her bio, you will now hear from our beautiful organizer, Kiana Rogers. Kiana has always exemplified what it means to scholastically achieve success in a setting of preeminence.
White House HBCU All-Star Kiana Rogers. Rogers is a North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University graduating psychology student and entrepreneurship minor, hailing all the way from Dover, Delaware. Rogers serves as the 2017-2018 HBCU All-Star at A&T through the White House Initiative on HBCUs. We lost it. Kiana has also played many significant roles on her campus. She has made the Dean's List every semester, received membership into Alpha Lambda Delta National Honor Society, Psi Chi International Honor Society, as well as Alpha Kappa Mu National Honor Society. She is also an active member in the university's honors program and Miss of two student organizations, NAACP and NYNJ Connection. In addition, she has worked as a call center giving campaign, a tutor counselor for Upward Bound Trio program, and currently serves as an academic coach for the Aggie Mentoring Program. She has also participated in international studies, studying abroad in Costa Rica, summer 2017, being an out-of-state first-generation college student. Kiana has also leveraged many connections and opportunities to achieve all that she has thus far. She continuously strives to obtain upward mobility as an adamant and becoming positive role model for her peers. As a White House HBCU All-Star, Kiana Rogers would like to evolve, motivate, and impact her HBCU community, specifically HBCU women at large. It's time to boss up.
Thank you, Kiana. Thank you, Kiana, for taking the initiative to put together a program of such substance. Thank you all for your attendance, and I hope that you all enjoy the program.
Thank you guys for coming out, and welcome to our last program of the Boss Up Initiative. Today's students, tomorrow's leaders. And now I want to say a little bit about the history of Boss Up and why this initiative is taking place today. So if I can please have Miss Destiny McElroy come down. Yeah, so pretty much I haven't talked about the history of Boss Up with the other two programs, and I wanted to shed light on why this is happening now. This is the co-founder, we are both co-founders of Boss Up, which was originally a proposed student organization that we created in 2016.
Yes, just to piggyback off Kiana's what she said very briefly, we were sitting in her dorm, literally in the village, and we knew that we wanted to help women. We knew that we had something in us that wanted to give back to women on campus, but we just couldn't figure out what that would separate ourselves from the other women organizations on campus. So we asked ourselves, what do we need now to propel us to success after graduation? Is it school? Is it friends? Is it a relationship? She was in a relationship, and we were both out of state, and we were having just a lot of distractions, and we realized that was our main issue, distractions. And so we wanted to come up with a sole organization that puts women in the zone, that tells you, you got to boss up, or boss down, or get bossed around. So we wanted to let women know that we're not going to be the ones to offer you this fed information. We want to give you Congresswoman Alma Adams. We want to give you Dr. Phyllis Wright, LaShondra White, and Hilda Phoenix. We want you all to hear from those women to give you feedback, give you information, because we felt that those women have been in the game and have done many, many things in our community, and they could feed you the correct information. So that was why we came up. And our mission statement, you haven't seen it yet, but it is to show girls how to encourage each other and teach their fellow women to fulfill to their greatest destiny.
Thank you all. So now we will have a special video presentation by Miss Janice Howroyd.
Hello, Aggies. I am so excited at the opportunity to greet you. Boss Up is what's happening. And you know, Congresswoman Adams and Kiana, the work that you're doing with the students at A&T is really paying off already. I've been finding out what's happening there. Here's what I want to talk with you about, though, now. You know, you're engaged in this students today, today's students, tomorrow's leaders. I want to share with you that here I am in Atlanta. I'm actually in my hotel room, and my brother Carlton, a fellow Aggie, is filming this for me. But it was important that we got the message to you around understanding that your leadership is starting right now. The things you're learning, the way you're living, all of those are going to contribute to the long-term success that you want in life. You know, I remember when I first set foot on North Carolina A&T State University's campus. That was 100 years ago or so. But many of the things that were true then are true now. North Carolina A&T has always been about teaching you how to think, not what to think. And that's what leaders do too. North Carolina A&T State University has always been about innovative change. Visit the Smithsonian if you need to understand that. More importantly, visit with some of the professors and some of the landmarks on campus to see you're a part of a greater legacy than yourself. And that's understanding leadership too. Great leaders understand that. The other thing that's important for you in leadership is to make sure that you understand the whole equation of what makes initiatives work. You're going to be engaged in conversations and in work throughout your time in school that prepare you for the leadership in real life. But your leadership is starting today. I love that the women are stepping up and understanding where we are. I would say it's also important to understand that we are brothers and sisters, sisters and brothers in this world. And so leadership is about balance, not just balance of life and, you know, work and play. My work is my play. I'm working right now past midnight to create this video for you. I'm also very playful in it because I'm having the fun of understanding that I can get just an iPad with a graded video and share with you wisdom. And by the way, you know that wisdom simply is the excellent marriage of experience to knowledge. That is leadership as well, and that's what you're getting. So I've shared some concepts with you in this very short time that I do hope and I do pray that you will talk about in your sessions today and throughout your time at A&T. I pray that you'll carry these concepts into your work life. Here's, as I close with you, something that's really important for you to understand. You know, the world is very big, and sitting on A&T's campus, for many of you, when you hit that campus, it was one of the biggest places you'd ever been in your life, yeah? Well, the world is even bigger. But as the world is big, so is it getting smaller. Social media is powerful. I would guess that most of you are engaged in some form of it. I hope you're following me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. But whatever you're doing, I want to make sure you understand that as the world is big, so is it getting smaller in ways that support you as leaders. Great leaders understand, you know, you can start a business today and you start it global. When I started my business, you started local and you grew a path that took a lot longer to get there. You can start a business today in Greensboro and your first client can be in Dubai, can be in Europe or any part of Asia. So the world is really your oyster and you create the pearls that you would wish to make of it. Enjoy your time at A&T. Remember to be students. Remember to be academians. And remember to be on point about who you are and what life is offering you. I look forward to coming to A&T soon for meetings. I hope that some of you I'll get an opportunity to talk with. You're in great hands with Congresswoman Adams and Kiana. You're in great care at North Carolina A&T State University. And you're in great shape to reach the world with everything you're learning and everything you're bringing into it. So yes, today's students, tomorrow's leaders, begin leading now.
Janice couldn't make it, but she was delighted to have the opportunity to send in that video. Now, I will be introducing the host for the evening. Our host is Mr. Tyleek McMillan, and his bio is grateful for everything, entitled to nothing. A native of Lawrenceville, Virginia, Tyleek M. McMillan humbly serves as North Carolina A&T's Student Government Association Attorney General. He is obtaining a Bachelor of Science degree in Political Science. While at A&T, he has become immersed into Aggie land by participating in various student organizations. McMillan served as orientation student leader for new student programs and currently serves as a resident assistant for housing and residence life. Appointed by the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, Tyleek serves as a member of the February 1 Planning Committee. Appointed by the Chancellor, he currently serves on the University Judicial and Preeminence 2020 Strategic Planning Committee. Tyleek is the recipient of the 2017 North Carolina Campus Compact Community Impact Award from A&T's campus for his effective leadership in community and civic engagement. He is currently a part of many organizations and community programs outside of school. To name a select few, he is a national youth activist for the National Action Network under the leadership of Reverend Al Sharpton, where he helps to promote the modern civil rights agenda. He was the recipient of the Youth Activist of the Year Award. In addition, he served as the Black Caucus Chairman for the College Democrats of North Carolina and National Coalition on Black Civic Participation North Carolina Coordinator. He has career goals in politics and plans on being a future United States Senator or maybe even the next President of the United States of America. Please welcome our host for the evening, Mr. Tyleek McMillan.
Thank you, Kiana, for that great introduction. Good evening. My name is Tyleek McMillan, like she said. I am a junior political science student from Lawrenceville, Virginia, and it is an honor to be here to be able to moderate today's panel with you guys. When we talk about bossing up, and we have so many great student leaders and titles and not titles who are coming down to speak to you guys about what it means to boss up. We think about bossing up. We think about just people who have taken control and had leadership and who have done what it takes to be the leaders of this generation. We have to understand that we hold the keys to our future. So it is a great honor of mine to introduce to you guys our panel who will come before you at this moment. First, we will have Ms. Kayla Tate. Kayla has always been passionate about informing her peers. She wants them to understand that they do have a voice and they should use it in matters that concern them. Tate joined the Aggie family in 2014 and made it a priority to get to know the campus and the students. Tate is a senior political science student from Durham, North Carolina. Throughout her tenure here at A&T, she has been actively involved in the campus community. She has been a member of the Blue and Gold Marching Machine, Alpha Lambda Delta Freshman Honor Society, a member of the Model United Nations team, Couture Productions, and Ladies of Excellence. Currently, for her third consecutive year, she serves as an Aggie Success Leader with new student programs, a second-year peer mentor through Housing and Residence Life, a charter member and community service chair for the A&T chapter of Phi Alpha Delta Law Fraternity, and co-founder and vice president of Aggies Abroad, and has served as a mentor with Just Be Empowerment Group. Tate's leadership commitment is impeccable, and she stands on the quote, "Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence." Shirley Sandberg. And also, Ms. Tate currently serves as our Student Government Association president. Let's give it up for Ms. Tate. Our next boss, we have Mr. Brandon Long. Brandon Long is a senior computer science student at North Carolina A&T from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Since his freshman year, he has had the privilege of working at NASA, Oracle Corporation, Sam's Club, Apple, and on campus as a web developer for a research lab and a teaching assistant for a computer science course. Outside of being a coder, Brandon is also a musician and marched in the Blue and Gold Marching Machine for 2 football seasons. Brandon has served as the president of the Association for Computer Machinery and the Communications Chairperson for the Student Chapter of the National Society of Black Engineers. Currently, Brandon serves as the National Communications Chairperson for the National Society of Black Engineers, as well as one of A&T's 2017-2018 White House HBCU All-Stars. His initiatives focus on teaching the university and the local community the fundamentals of computer programming and ways to implement it in their careers. Upon the completion of his undergraduate studies, Brandon will begin a full-time career at Microsoft, working as a software development engineer on the Cortana at Work team. In the future, Brandon would like to pursue an advanced degree in computer science with a focus in machine learning and artificial intelligence, and start his very own technology company. With experience at some of the best companies and universities in the world, Brandon would like to use his wealth of knowledge to create a product or service that will make life a bit easier for society. Let's give it up for Mr. Brandon Long. Our next boss we have coming to the stage is Miss Brene Snowden. Miss Brene Snowden is a business marketing student hailing from Prince George's County, Maryland. After receiving her undergraduate degree, Brene aspires to attend Columbia University in New York City, where she will obtain her MBA. Proceeding, she desires to work for a Fortune 500 company as a marketing executive. Brene finds fulfillment by discovering new things and traveling to new places. One of her goals is to travel to all 50 states and all 7 continents of the world. While attending North Carolina A&T State University, she strives to be a positive influence with the A&T community by embracing individuality and helping emphasize the importance of walking in your life's purpose. Brene currently serves as Miss Residence Hall Association. Brene lives by, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. The Lord's will for your life will always prevail. Let's give it up for Miss Brene Snowden. And at this time, we'll now have Mr. Kenai Bynum. Kenai Bynum is North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, a graduating senior majoring in public relations with a minor in psychology from Charlotte, North Carolina. He chose to study public relations and psychology to enhance his knowledge, skills, and abilities. Kenai's first title was Mr. Public Relations in 2014-2015, where he implemented various community service projects. After that, Kenai and a few other students created an organization called Conscious Connection. Conscious Connection is a student-led organization that aims to raise self-awareness and unity throughout campus. The purpose of Conscious Connection is to create an atmosphere that allows for inspiration, motivation, and enlightenment. Kenai looks forward to making community activism a career. Let's give it up for Mr. Kenai Bynum. So we have a great panel for you guys, as we see here, as we read their resumes, who are really true bosses in this generation. So first to start us off, just tell us about yourself and tell us your leadership, whether it's a title or not a title, and just tell us about yourself and tell the audience who you are.
I guess I'll start. So again, my name is Kayla Tate, and I'm really happy to be here. I thank you, Kiana, for inviting me to be on the panel. As mentioned, I do currently serve as the Student Government Association president. I'm also, as you said, a co-founder for Aggies Abroad, which mainly focuses on, as a student at actually spring semester last year, I had the opportunity to study abroad in Barcelona, Spain. And so while I was there, I noticed that we didn't have a lot of black and brown folks who were, abroad and really able to represent. And so 2 other students along with myself, when we all came back, they went to Cyprus. And we were, talking, we were saying, well, we should try to encourage other students to do just that, to study abroad. And so we created that organization. And this is our first semester actually being active. So, we plan on doing some great things. We have a passport caravan coming up where we plan on giving out free passports to our students with the help of SGA and our Board of Trustees for the university. So that's something that we're doing. You kind of listed a lot of the things that I'm involved in. But I'm just, a student. I try to do a lot on the campus and try to remain a transparent student leader. I want people to realize that you don't have to come from a specific background, or you don't have to look a certain way or always act a certain way in order to be able to leave your mark and truly have some sort of an impact on those that surround you. I mainly try to cater towards our freshmen, because if you show them what a student leader is supposed to be like, once your time and your tenure here at A&T is over, then you'll be able to, help build those student leaders. So it's really leaving a legacy. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely leading the way. I think, as you had said, leading the way and showing others. As we look back at our history, and just at A&T4, it was freshmen who helped lead the way. And we look at great leaders who have led the way on this campus, such as Brandon. So just tell us about yourself and how you have led the way, not only in your field, but just in general.
Good evening, everyone. Like you said, my name is Brandon Long, senior computer science student. So I'm actually the second White House All-Star. So Keone and I are representing A&T for the White House Initiative on HBCUs. And so I guess my initiative is really more so the tech world and immersing not only A&T students, but Greensboro local natives to understand and utilize the computing technologies in their careers, or even maybe persuade them to move over to technology and become software engineers as well. And so my experience has really been working at tech companies around the world and really experiencing firsthand how we as a minority are really a huge minority in the tech world, and especially for women alike. And so my initiative is, like I said, been able to kind of expose our students in the local community to that, and utilize that to impact the campus and community as a whole. So like Keone's workshops, I also have workshops for teaching Python. So following this one, I'll be doing the same. So that's a little bit about myself.
Thank you so much. Renee?
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Brene Snowden. I'm currently a junior here at North Carolina A&T studying business marketing. During my time here at A&T, I've really have grown a lot into the woman I am today. I remember coming here as a freshman and just being kind of quiet, and I won't say lost per se, but really trying to figure out why, God put me on this earth. And I really do feel like God put me here to just serve, but, just serve through being like a pleasant and transparent individual. I feel like I emphasize these traits as a residential assistant. I know to some it may seem like a small task, but you really come in contact with a lot of residents, and especially, underclassmen who, like myself, when I came in as a freshman, sometimes don't even really know why you're here. So sometimes it just takes that one person to say, like, I see you, I believe in you, encouraging students to really get involved. And I feel like that's been my greatest accomplishment here. And after being a residential assistant, I wanted to go for a larger platform. So I did run for Miss Residence Hall Association, which I do currently serve as. And that's just been a really big blessing to my life and just the opportunities. And I want to encourage others to be involved and go after those opportunities as well, because you really never know what you're capable of until you just push yourself and put yourself outside your comfort zone. So just to be that encouraging person is my biggest impact here.
Good evening. Before I talk about myself, I want to say thank you to Key, thank you to Dr. Dogan, thank you to everybody who helped put this together. Let's get a round of applause for them.
Yeah.
All right, now this is even the most biggest part. Okay. Everyone, all of you all, shout out to y'all. You know what I'm saying, for coming out here. I want a round of applause for y'all for coming here today. Seriously, you guys could have been anywhere. Y'all chose to be here and better yourselves and boss up. Again, my name's Kanai Bynum. I'm a senior public relations student, minor in psychology, but I wasn't always one. I came to A&T as an engineer, mostly like every other black man in here, or woman too. Oh, I forgot to say something before I talked about myself. This is really important. I'm thankful that I'm up here on this panel, but I am a cis-het man, and that's a privilege, being a man, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just thankful that I had the opportunity to speak and share, when there's black trans women who are getting killed, like, every week, 90% by other black men. I really want to lift up that, definitely make space for that. Okay, so back to myself. I came to A&T as an engineer, realized that I hated math. But the first semester I changed my major. I changed it to something that I already love doing, already a skill set, which is communicating, talking to people. I love PR. Then, longer into my college career, I realized that, I love the mind. I love the way that works. I love how people think. So I minored in psychology. So what I did was I just went to school for what I want to do instead of what my parents told me to do. And that was the biggest boss up I could have made. Another big boss up I made was realizing that God was real. That was the biggest boss up I made in college. Definitely was questioning God. And then when sophomore year, I realized he was real. And my first mentor, Edward Hayes, self-made millionaire, taught me with books, taught me with a lot of great experiences that he went through. But the reason why I say all this is because I lost all my friends. I wanted to talk about ideas. I want to talk about something with substance, like this program. Something that has purpose. They only want to talk about girls, drugs, money, So that was really hard. But because of law of attraction, I was able to naturally connect with the right people. Just slowly but surely invited them to my room every Wednesday at a certain time, called it Wisdom Wednesday. Eventually, it got big enough where we just put it on campus, just with no title, with no position, just there's a demand, and each student has the power within them to create and do anything. So just us students met at the clock tower every day, talked about ideas. We were strategic, planned, and grew. It was a healing space, therapeutic. I'm already a junior at this point, so I don't want to create an organization. I don't want to do anything like that. But the people did, So that's why I created Conscious Connection. We also have a program April 23rd. It's about intertwining different faiths. We're going to have a panel as well with people who are Christian, someone who is Islam, as well as someone who is non-denominational. It's going to be beautiful. I'm going to say, what do we have in common? How can we work together? What does it look like moving forward? What can we do together? Yeah. And then last year, I was not into politics at all. But as we know what happened in Charlotte with the uprises, I just decided to go during One Wisdom Wednesday. I'm going. Just got to represent. Ended up seeing seeing Robert Carr get killed by the cops in Charlotte. After that, I didn't know what to do. So I decided to sit down, and pray. And then that's when I got hit by a baton, thrown in handcuffs, and went to jail. When I got back on campus, my advisor was like, I saw you on the news sitting down. And I was like, that was it. She was like, why would they do that to you? And I'm, at that time, the whole experience, I was like, why did they do that to me? I'm in this jail cell, hurt, broken, one of the lowest points in my life. But when I got back, I realized why God used me. That's when I realized, dang, I gotta use this platform to liberate people who are more oppressed than I am. And again, thank you for giving me space to speak.
Yeah. So just as everybody said, when we look, we really are the change that we want to see. When we look up, that it doesn't take a title, it doesn't take a position for us to be bosses, as we see just here on our panel. So when you guys think about bossing up, when we think about boss parency, and we think about what our title is, today's students, tomorrow's leaders, what does boss parency mean to you all? What is the meaning that you will give when you hear that word?
Okay. When I hear the word boss parency, something I kind of live by is own your power, right? So to me, I want people to understand that you have to own what you were put on this earth to do. You can't walk in, the shoes of others, because then you can't fully tap into what you're capable of doing and living the life of someone else's dream. And that's one of the things I feel like college has done for me, it just gives you a greater outlook on life and understand there's so many things, so many opportunities out here for you to achieve. So therefore, you should always go after what you're passionate about because that'll always keep you driven. Oftentimes, people come to college and it's either money is something that is driving them or what their family is telling them to do, right? And then that's why people lose momentum in college, and then that's why people like end up leaving because you didn't go to college because you wanted to go. You went for other purposes. So once you find what you're meant to do and what you're meant to walk in and you just walk in your purpose, everything will fall into place.
True. Very true.
Yeah, it's kind of piggyback on that. So for me, boss parency is, I guess, in using the word built into it, being honest and transparent with yourself, understanding what you're capable of and what you're here for, and understanding what you need to do to actually get yourself to be that boss or the best self that you can be. Understanding, I believe someone said that you said you lost friends or distractions for the organization Boss Up. Understanding that you have to put away those things to bring out that better person in you. So being transparent, honest with yourself about your purpose, what you don't need to really bring out that best you.
For me, I would definitely say that boss parency means setting the example. Finding a mentor and then serving as a mentor in turn, because there's always someone watching you, even when you don't know it. And so you always want to make sure that you are, like I said, being the example that you hope someone else, whoever it is that may be watching you, is able to follow. So mainly just setting as the example.
The best way for me to share about what I think boss transparency looks like is by giving my own example. So, like I said, when I got arrested in Charlotte, I came back with this huge platform. Like, random people I didn't even know were saying thank you, And I'm just like, wow. And then I started realizing, like, oh, I am doing it for their kids. I do put my life on the line for their kids, and everyone's kids, and my kids, and our descendants, because our ancestors did it for us. So, but the reason why I brought that up was because I didn't realize what comes with that platform, what comes with that power. I never read any books about leadership or really had a mentor who shared with me about how to be a leader. With great power comes great responsibility, and there was many distractions and many things came with that, but all the losses and the hurt and the pain is what helped me to grow. That transparency is what helped me to connect with people more. That's what boss transparency looks like.
Yeah, definitely. I think even the same aspect. I think when we begin to realize and we can be transparent with our bossiness, understand that what we do in the community, what we do personally, there's always someone watching, as you said, Kayla. And I think once we understand that it's not only for ourselves, that there's other people who are watching us. And I think even when we look at the fact someone else is following our footsteps. So it's up for us to lead the way. So as you guys said, just being a leader and owning up to your leadership and taking full responsibility. So at this time, we're going to take a few questions from the audience for our panel that you may have for the students.
I have a question right here. Hold on. I'm coming.
Hi, how are you doing? Good. So my question is, how do you all incorporate that with your fellow students or fellow classmates? How do you all incorporate y'all boss parency?
Yeah, so I'll speak more narrowly with computer science. So a lot of us are very introverted, very quiet, and not understanding the potential or the power that we have as engineers, black engineers at that. So being a student in my department with a lot of success, I try to do my best to share that or utilize that to bring other students up. So I'm a mentor. I have a lot of mentees, a lot of freshmen. Every year I get a new group. And so one of the things I'd always mention to them is that, when they, especially oftentimes they say, I can't do this, or I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm transparent with them saying you actually are. And so showing them the transparency from the outside that, they need to be honest with themselves. You're not the person you think you are. You're actually a whole lot more. And so when I explain that to them, they start to say it or preach it to themselves, and it helps to bring out that bigger person in them. And so now they're being a boss. I see them get internships at Facebook, Microsoft, everywhere else, and things that I didn't do as a freshman. Now it's I guess, as Kayla said, leaving that legacy and building up better students for the future of A&T. So that's kind of, I guess, my example for my specific situation.
I just like Brandon, having a lot of mentees and serving as a mentor. I am a peer mentor, which is essentially a job on campus, but I've also kind of took some other people who aren't my mentees within my building under my wing, because I see that they have certain leadership qualities within them, or they just, even if they aren't a leader, just a spark in them, something that they don't quite see in themselves just yet. And so being able to kind of, I tend to take people around with me. So I try to make different connections and be very diverse in some of the things that I do. I went from being in the marching band to, serving on a Model United Nations team or whatever the case may be. So just kind of dipping into a whole lot of areas on campus. And so from there, I kind of tend to take people along with me to say, hey, come with me to this, or come with me to that, to see what it is that they like. And from there, you're always able to take different lessons from everything that you tend to do to kind of make you a better person or a better leader. So yeah, having mentees and being very diverse in everything that you do.
Question.
Hi everyone. Is this on? Okay. Hey everyone, my name is Ashley Fisher, and I have a question for the panel. So I want to know, what would you guys advise for underclassmen to get more involved? I heard one of you say something about actually getting involved, and you guys have organizations like Kayla, you said one about studying abroad, and Tanai about like the conscious, like the connection. Yeah. So what would you guys advise for students who don't actually know about that? Because I'm sure there are a lot of students who actually want to go abroad, or who actually who are actually concerned about what you're saying, but a lot of times we don't hear about this stuff. And I know as an underclassman, I didn't, and it probably limited me to getting involved because I was unsure about what I wanted to do. So what would you guys advise for those students, like, to get out and to actually hear about this stuff?
Thank you for that question. Okay. So, like I said, I'm a residential assistant. So the main thing I do when I come in contact with new residents, especially freshmen, I always encourage them to get involved in at least 3 small orgs as a freshman. So one, I always say get involved within an org that's in your department, so like your focus in your major, and then a social group. So like for females, like as a lot of females get involved in like Ladies of Excellence or 100 Collegiate Women, right? And then even for the men, and Men on the Move, excuse me. And then lastly, I always say like just get involved in one extra one. So people a lot of times may get involved within like their home organization, because when you do go to these other organizations programs, they do emphasize the importance of those things, right? So honestly, when we encourage the students, it depends on them and them taking initiative to go out and, see what there is to offer. Because, as college students, sometimes we come to school and we're just like, okay, well, what does the school have to offer me, right? But if we're not taking the time to go out and see what the university actually has to offer, sometimes you can't just expect it to fall in your lap. You have to have that drive to want to have a purpose within your campus and community.
Definitely hit a good point. I'm not going to repeat that part. But what I did was, when I got into the point where I came to school not caring really about that kind of stuff, like most college students. But then once I started to care, I started to find myself at the right place at the right time. And I'm gonna be as transparent as possible. You know, the university has a lot of opportunities, so many, but there's even more students who don't know about it. You know, and they don't really connect that well. But if you feel like you want something, do it. No one told us to go to the clock tower. We thought to go to the clock tower. You know, you don't have to really ask to do a lot. You just have to create it. And if you fail, you learn from it. So the reason I'm saying that is because law of attraction will meet you with the right professor. It will meet you with the right advisor. You will realize that there are opportunities, not just in this university, but in this universe.
We can take one more question.
Hey, I just wanted to very bluntly ask, how did you know that this was the career path that you wanted to take and build your character on?
So pre-college, this is third grade up until senior year, I actually wanted to be an architect. I didn't even know anything about computer science until my senior year. And for me, I was exposed to software that architects use, CAD software. And in my mind, I was more interested in the software than architecture, and I was wondering who created that. And that's when I found out about computer science. And as I came to A&T and started coding, started interning, I found that I really was enjoying what I was doing and realized really quickly that I can utilize that to impact other people's lives. And that's when I realized this is where I need to be. It's just little things from like internships. So I was working on software to make it accessible to people who have disabilities. And so just seeing that I can have that much of an impact from writing lines of code to allow someone who can't see or who can't hear to use the same software that I use was really empowering, and I thought that was great. So I'm stuck in comp sci forever.
For me, so I'm a political science student with plans on going into law school and then eventually becoming a judge. And so around middle school is whenever I was like, I'm kind of liking this whole, the law and all that. Okay, cool. So my 8th grade year going into high school, I shadowed a judge because I knew that was my ultimate goal. And so being able to go back in chambers and sit in the courtroom and kind of understand how like that whole behind the scenes process worked, it kind of solidified like, yeah, being a judge is definitely for me. And then my junior year during the summer, going into my senior year, I did an externship, which is basically like an internship, but you don't get paid. I had an opportunity to extern with an A&T alum. He's a federal judge in Southern California. And so, I was able to fly out and also kind of pretty much like shadow him for about 6 weeks. And so that definitely, again, was like the icing on the cake. Like, yeah, this is definitely what I want to do. But, as Brendan mentioned, definitely doing internships and shadowing because, before you get into college, you kind of want to have an idea. But if you don't, then that's completely fine. And so, especially here at A&T with our career services department, or just sometimes you just meet alum who have internship opportunities. So being able to intern definitely will help you, figure out like, okay, is this something that I'm interested in actually pursuing before you actually get that degree? And they often say, and Brandon may be able to speak to this a little bit, and they often say like your freshman year is hard to get internships, but, I know Brandon did a lot of Googling, and he was able to land an internship with NASA his freshman year. So, you just got to use that Google, and network and talk to people. Don't be afraid to kind of step out of your comfort zone if you're not a talker, to say, hey, I know that, you're doing this. When you come out to different events and you get involved on campus, you'll meet different people. And you'll just say, hey, I understand that you're doing this. Do you have a card? I'm really interested in possibly pursuing the same career. Can I just come and sit in your office and just listen to you and just kind of see what your day-to-day looks like? So definitely interning and shadowing people will definitely kind of help with that.
Just as Kayla said, it's very important in networking. I think that's a really good piece in being able to connect with other students, just to get that experience so you can have your college experience. Your freshman year is very pivotal, so definitely get involved. And as they had mentioned about our alum, we have just a few alum who shared some videos to talk about their boss parency and what it meant to them. So at this time, we're going to play just a few videos to show our alum.
One, two. What's going on, guys? It's Jamal Averett. I am a 2016 graduate from North Carolina A&T State University, where I received my Bachelor's of Science degree in Marketing Sales. When I think I'm so excited and ecstatic to be a part of the highlighted alum segment of the Boss Parency. First, before I say anything, I just want to shout out Key and the rest of the Boss Up Initiative team for not only teaching our students at A&T how to boss up, but teaching our students how to be extraordinary leaders and showing them their inner strength and helping them find their purpose in this life. So when I think about, my matriculation through A&T and pretty much how I got to where I'm at today, I think about one thing, was a couple of things, favor, God, and prayer. When I think about just coming into A&T and just wanting to leave a legacy or just wanting to make that impact on so many lives, it wasn't, it took a lot of time for me just to truly believe in myself and to believe that I can do it and achieve it. So sometimes people always ask me, like, Jamal, like, how does it feel to, be that leader when you was at A&T? When I just crazy, it's hard for me to sometimes believe it because I always struggle with just truly believing in myself. So without, throughout my time at A&T, I was able to just not only remain transparent, but remain true to myself. And I think that's what makes a leader, is somebody who can stay true to themselves, no matter their position, no matter where you are in life, staying true to what God has called you to be and called you to do in this world. So when I think of, in terms of where I'm at now, as soon as I graduated, I didn't really know what I wanted to, where I was going to be at, where I was going to go. I just trusted God. So now I'm currently in D.C., working at Oracle, and also pursuing my Master's of Education at American University. So when we think about being true leaders, when we think about being advocates for the change we want to see, we must remember these couple of things. Finding your purpose. Every setback, every situation, everything that we face is preparing us for something greater. And just persevering through every obstacle, every setback, every closed door, and understanding that no does not mean that it's over. The N stands for new and the O stands for opportunities. No means new opportunities. And just pushing through everything that we may face. And sometimes those no's, those rejections is what's going to propel us to be the greatest leaders we can be at all times. So before I close, I just want to say, always remember your true purpose in life. We're never going to know where we may be at our next step in life, but it's also just remaining true to yourself, remaining true to the process that you are currently in right now, and always remember that it's always going to be sunshine on the other side of the rainbow. So just stay true to yourself, and always ever forget to boss up at all times. Thank you all so much, and hope I see all of you all soon.
I graduated from the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University in May 2016 with my bachelor's in psychology. Currently, I am getting my master's from Columbia College, Chicago. Hi everyone, my name is Bria Campbell. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I graduated from the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University in May 2016 with my bachelor's in psychology. Currently, I am getting my master's from Columbia College, Chicago in dance movement therapy and counseling. I'm so excited to be one of the highlighted alums in this segment, Boss Parency. So I just want to give you guys a little background about my journey through A&T and kind of my extracurricular activities and my leadership during that time, and why transparency through leadership is so important. So I started A&T in the year 2011, seems so long ago. And one of the first organizations that I joined was Couture Productions, and I joined the dance division. And I was a part of that sector for 2 years, and the last year I was dance coordinator. And it took a lot of preparation, a lot of planning, and a lot of diligence, but it was a great experience. After that, I was a part of Alpha Lambda Delta, the Honor Society for Freshmen, and that was a great experience. I was a resident assistant for 2 years in the Village in Curtis, and I gained a lot of leadership experience and really interacting with the community and with the students and how important that process was. And lastly, I was a part of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the Alpha Nu chapter, in spring of 2013. And oh my goodness, was leadership so important to run a Greek letter organization and to be a part of one. So I think out of all of those experiences, the key takeaways to being very transparent as a leader is to really know yourself and know who you are, what you stand for, what are your morals, what are your values, who are you? And knowing who you are, that kind of gives others a sense of being able to see you. And so being able to see you helps for others to really be a part of what you stand for and be a part of your mission and your vision and your goals. So that's one key thing. I think another key thing about being a transparent leader is open communication, and admitting when you don't know, admitting when you're wrong, and basically also kind of tying back into letting your community see who you are, letting your organization see who you are. And lastly, I think a really good thing to be a transparent leader is to let your community buy into you. Let them support you. Let them be a part of your ideas and your building and your branding, and just kind of take a team approach versus a dictatorship role. And I think that helps people see the qualities that you possess and, like I said, buy into that mission. So boss up, be great, be transparent leaders, be great leaders, be innovators, and be personable. Be yourself. Shine. So thanks again, Boss Up, for featuring me, and I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely program.
So let's give it up for our student-led discussion and our alum. Let's give it up for one more time. At this time, we will now have Miss Destiny McElroy come to the podium and who will moderate our next panel discussion.
Thank you, Tyleek, and thank you to the students who just went. We truly do appreciate you guys coming out and showing support. So let's just move along into the next portion. Okay. So now we're going to start our professional panelists, and it's obviously going to be what exactly it says. It's going to be a panel filled with professionals. We're going to begin with professional panelist Hilda Penix-Ragland. Hilda is a corporate affairs and business executive acknowledged for building best-in-class organizations that consistently achieve aggressive revenue and profit objectives. She is also a dedicated board member, advisor to numerous industry, educational, and community organizations bringing new strategy and processes to enhance effectiveness. Hilda brings a broad background in P&L management, strategic planning, economic development, communications, treasury and auditing, M&A, integration, customer service, and operations. During her career, she has combined operating success, including leading a 600,000 customer energy delivery operation, achieving top financial safety, customer service, and employee satisfaction results, with the ability to collaborate and build alignment with government, regulatory, and other stakeholders. Most recently, Hilda served as a Vice President Corporate Public Affairs and Progress Energy, and following the merger with Duke Energy. While at Progress, Hilda established a corporate public affairs function, which was expanded to serve 31 states and international interests in Central and South America at Duke. In that capacity, she collaborated with federal, state, and local officials and company leadership to develop responsible energy policy and advance the utilities' international interests. Hilda served in operating roles with Progress Energy, including Vice President, Northern Region, with management of distribution of electric service for more than 600,000 customers and community relations with a budget of $80 million. And as Vice President, Energy Delivery Services, leading environmental services, financials, transmission, and distribution services, commercial, industrial,
and governmental account management and support services. In both roles, she achieved top quartile performance in safety, customer satisfaction, and employee engagement. Hilda has also demonstrated leadership in economic development, serving as Progress Energy liaison with international departments of commerce to bring business to North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. In 3 years, she doubled Progress annual revenue stream from new industries. Hilda began her career on the financial side, serving as an accountant for Colgate Palmolive, excuse me if I say that wrong, a senior auditor for Arthur Ederson, and a financial analyst for Progress. Hilda holds a Bachelor of Science in Accounting from North Carolina A&T State University and a Master of Business Administration from Duke University School of Business. She also completed graduate studies in taxation from St. John's University and the executive program from Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government. Please give a hand for Ms. Hilda Penix Ragland. Next, we will have professional panelist Phyllis Wright. Ms. Phyllis J. Wright is the Deputy Chief of Facility Services Division within the Office of Facilities at the Defense Intelligence Agency. In this position, she leads a diverse team of over 200 professionals who provide creative design, media services, records management, and information services to a global workforce. Prior to her arrival at DIA, Ms. Wright excelled in a number of critical positions that serviced the U.S. Navy and its intelligence arm. The Office of Naval Intelligence, She began her career at the Department of the Navy Central Adjudication Facility, where she adjudicated personal security clearances on behalf of the organization. She continued her career as the Maritime Analysis Department of ONI, where she obtained numerous leadership positions. During her tenure at the agency, she was selected to participate in ONI's highly competitive full-time graduate program, whereby she acquired a Master of Science degree in Information Systems with the highest honors. This facilitated her promotion to the position of Senior Systems Analyst in May 2004, in which she represented the agency in all matters relating to Civil Maritime Information Technology Department. With this promotion, she became the highest-ranking African-American female within the organization. After a series of additional positions, Ms. Wright was appointed as the Executive Director, Hopper Information Services Center, where she managed over 600 civilians, military, and contractor personnel at the National Maritime Intelligence Center, providing worldwide information technology and communications support to naval intelligence customers. In this role, Ms. Wright made history in becoming the first African-American female executive director in the organization. In preparation for the Senior Executive Corps, Ms. Wright accepted a joint duty assignment at the Defense Intelligence Agency in February 2011, where she served as the Chief of Building Services and Customer Support, where she managed a host of services for the agency throughout the National Capital Region. In July 2016, Ms. Wright became the Deputy Chief of the Corporate Engagement Division within the Chief Information Office of Defense Intelligence Agency. In this position, she led a team of over 200 people in a global enterprise that ensured that over 54,000 customers received efficient, consistent, and quality IT support. Outside of her professional experiences, Ms. Wright is active in the community. She is in her second term as president, North Carolina A&T State Alumni Association, Washington, D.C. chapter. In recognition of her longstanding support to her beloved alma mater, she was awarded the Julia S. Brooks National Alumni Award. Even with the demands of her job, she continues to mentor many young civilians throughout the Office of Naval Intelligence and Defense Intelligence Agency and current A&T students. Her favorite saying, "Too much is given, much is required." Please give it up for professional panelist Phyllis Wright. Professional panelist LaShondra White. LaShondra White is the Director of Annual Giving at North Carolina A&T State University. She received her BS degree in Media Studies from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, MS degree in Adult Education from North Carolina A&T State University, and is pursuing an Education Specialist degree in Higher Education from Appalachian State University. LaShondra has been with North Carolina A&T State University for nearly 10 years, serving in various leadership roles in the Division of University Advancement, overseeing annual giving,
Overseeing annual giving, her primary fundraising efforts seek support from alumni, faculty, and staff, students, and parents to fund scholarships and other university needs. In 2015, she received the Excellence in Performance Award at the North Carolina A&T State University Employee Recognition Awards ceremony, in only its second year of inception. Her previous roles at various institutions included serving as an instructor, communications consultant, and admissions counselor. Please give it up for professional panelist LaShondra White. So once again, we want to say thank you to the professional panelists for coming out tonight. Excuse me. And now we're going to have professional panelist Natalie Parker. Natalie Nelson Parker is an emerging scholar advocate, a community organizer, and native of New York. She is first-generation American. Her parents originated from island of Jamaica, West Indies, and she has 5 older brothers. Her educational and professional endeavors have included receiving a bachelor's degree in political science and English literature from Adelphi University in Garden City, New York, a master's in secondary education from Teachers College, Columbia University, New York, New York, and a master's in divinity from Gammon Theological Seminary at the Interdenominational Theological Center in Atlanta, Georgia. She has taught within various educational sectors throughout grades 6 and 12 and is certified educator in both the states of Georgia and Tennessee. Natalie is committed to promoting historically Black colleges and universities while working as an assistant to the Dean for Student Services and Special Projects at Gammon Theological Seminary. She had the privilege to lead a cohort of students, which through mentoring support in the summer, partners, scholars, and local congregations and agencies throughout their first year as a graduate student. This program essentially creates a pipeline from United Methodist affiliate HBCU undergraduate institutions to Gammon Theological Seminary. Natalie is also 2015-16 HBCU All-Star and listed as Who's Who's among students in American colleges and universities. She is also a member of the Theta Phi International Honor Society for Theological Studies. Natalie is an avid writer. She has composed 4 children's books, the first released the fall of 2016 entitled I Love My Future HBCU, teaching children in historically Black colleges and universities. Through Parker Ministries, they speak, teach, and develop programming, which empowers others and positively impacts the world. Natalie pours her heart into preaching and teaching, often approaching texts from a womanist perspective. Here we go. Okay, thank you. It's so glad to see you guys out here today. So we're just going to get right on the roll into the questions. So I want to ask the first question. I'm pretty sure a lot of students want to know. How did you all align your professional work with your life work? And I mean that by what life experiences have aligned you to your professional work today?
First of all, I want to thank you for considering me for your panel today. Like a lot of you, as a student at A&T, I didn't know what I wanted to do either, but I did have a heart for service, so that is why I've concentrated my 35 years of service to the U.S. government and as a public servant. And my real motivation was to give back and to make a difference, and that's what I tried to do. And then we're talking about leadership, but when I first started my career, I never thought I would be a leader. I really just wanted to hone my craft. And as people saw me and saw that I had an excellent work ethic, they put me in positions where I really could begin to shape the organization. They gave me opportunities to make a difference. And as that transpired, then I started to be an influence. That was my goal, to influence and be able to bring in young African Americans. When I first started at Naval Intelligence, I was the first Black. So even though I was the first Black in leadership, when I walked in there right after college, I was the only Black that was there. And that was interesting in that I didn't have anybody I really could talk to and connect with. So I really just worked hard, and I put to use all of the things that I learned at A&T, and I truly believe my path here has enabled me to be where I am today.
Well, I too, I'll say the leadership piece of it and the life experiences. I was an SGA officer right here at North Carolina A&T. I also, and I had not heard in years, I was president of Alpha Kappa Mu Honor Society and a couple of other honor societies. So I think the people, the deans, the professors, the teachers saw in me leadership back to that time. And when I think back to Dr. Craig, and we were in his first class, I guess, of graduates, and he saw in us what we did not see in ourselves, and often would present us with in front of large organizations, in front of large companies, to speak on behalf of the university. Yes, I was Hilda Penix Ragland, but I was speaking on behalf of the university. Well, while majoring in accounting and going the traditional auditing route, that experience, and I gained that experience here. I was in New York City, and I was doing audits around the globe. And with that experience, I said, I can do something different. Instead of just auditing and looking at the historical perspective, why not get into the operations? And at CP&L, Carolina Power and Light, Progress Energy, and I too was the first Black female, first woman in the operations role. And I went into operations. That was the hanging the light, keeping the lights on, stringing the wires, hanging transformers. Yes, a woman can do that. Yes, anyone can do it if you want to do it. And did I go back and take some more classes in electronics and engineering, electrical engineering? Yes, I have that as well. But the chapters of life and experiences go on forever. And it happens to me every day. And I think that's our purpose on this earth. It doesn't stop, whether you're here in this seat today or whether you're sitting somewhere else many, many years afterwards. I think the life stops and the life learnings stop afterwards when you're dead.
Awesome. I'm so glad to be here with all of these wonderful women and, of course, the great students here at North Carolina A&T. One thing I would like to say is that your calling, your purpose is not something that you decide. It's something that you discover. And somewhere in life we heard a narrative that we have our life over here and our profession over here, and we have church over here, and we have this over there, and we put our lives in compartments, when really every life experience, whether it's good, great, not so great, is aligning you for a greater purpose to impact the world. And the more that you spend with yourself and learning your narrative and discovering that, the more you realize that every day you are working towards that. I would also say that as a first generation American from immigrant parents, I would say resourcefulness and resilience. I had a crazy mom who worked several jobs to make sure that I can have the best education. And when I sat as the only chocolate chip in that cookie in the honors class in a predominantly white school, she told me that no one can learn better than you, that no one was more beautiful. And somewhere down the line, I began to believe that. And no matter what experience I had in life, that affirmation gave me resilience to go after whatever it is I wanted to do, whether it was in leadership, whether it was in travel, whether it is in my professional career. What I learned from my mom and her resilience stayed throughout my life. And then the second is resourcefulness, right? Since we're on a panel talking about boss up, sometimes when we think about being a boss, we think that ultimately that means money or fame or whatever. But a real boss starts from the ground up. And when you start from the ground up, you become very resourceful. And as students, I would encourage you to go after whatever it is that you want to do, no matter how small it may start. Don't despise small beginnings. I'm sitting here, I've graduated school a long time ago. But the work that I did in undergrad is still following me today. And I mean like literal work, investments that I made when I was younger. And so I would encourage all of you, the small that you have, don't go spend it out in the clubs. Don't don't waste it, but invest and be resourceful now so that you can reap the harvest later.
Hello, everyone. Again, I'm honored to be here. Thank you, Kiana, for inviting me to be here, to be on this panel with these women. One thing that I want to talk about as far as my life work, I think something that I recognized along the way is that there were other people who mentored me and showed me where my strongest strengths were and were able to identify, you're really good at this, or I think you should do this. And, you know, you kind of give it some thought and you're like, oh, I never really thought of it that way. So it's always good to have people around you to be honest with you and give you real advice on where you should actually shift your skill set, where you should fill in that gap, and to identify things that you're really good at. So one of the things that I'll say is now mentoring others, it was important that I recognize those that helped me get where I am today and to see that they actually helped me identify some of the things that I felt like I was really good at. They actually helped me to tap in to see where did God really grace me to be able to shine, or where is it that I need to kind of fall back and let someone else lead, because it's also a good leadership quality to know where you need to follow in certain aspects. And those are one of the things that I really felt like I've taken a long way to be able to progress this far.
Thank you. And so with all that being said, I think we can say that we heard it's important to always learn. It's important to always be open and willing to receive information and be resourceful and resilient. And so going to being resourceful and resilient, having the mentorship around you, it sounded like a lot of the propellants that got you to your success was starting within you. So what could you convey to students who are sitting here looking at you now? What was that epiphany like? Where was it? Was it in your dark stage? Was it in the light stage? Because I think a lot of students, they go through failures. They go through these trials and tribulations and they just stop. But what was it that took you guys from that, I can do this?
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be the typical black preacher in the room. Since we're getting ready for Resurrection Sunday, I think it's in our dead situations where God does the best work.
Amen.
And so for me, my first trauma or bad experience as a child was at 5 years old when my parents split up and eventually got a divorce. And in that moment, in my memory, that was like the first memory that I have, it has been a learning tool, a driving tool in my life to impact the lives of African American and ethnic children, youth, and young adults. And so when you talk about the dark stages in our lives, or the times in our lives where we feel that is the most difficult or there's the most tension, those are also the areas in our lives where we can grow and learn the most, not just for ourselves and for our own resilience, but to impact the world for a greater good. And I'm so impressed by the student panel that came up, and we can see that they are living examples of what that means in our lives. Because to boss up is not just to boss people around, but to boss up is to pull people up with And so when you look at those dark times, those times in your life where you feel, things are impossible or they're too difficult, those are also the times where you need to seek strength, seek mentorship, seek family, seek love from others, and ask yourself, how can I make this world, make this situation better, not just for myself, but someone else?
If you'd like, if you feel that you need to. You're fine? Okay. Awesome. Right. Well, I appreciate that. And so, does anyone have anything towards what was said?
Hello, my name is Akiva Brooks, and I'm a junior here at A&T. I am a journalism mass communications major, and I am also working on starting a nonprofit. So I just wanted to thank you all for being here and being so authentic and being so transparent, and for kind of finding it within yourselves, within those stages to even get here to convey those messages to us. So with that, I just wanted to ask you, I know that it's times where you all have seen your growth and you've looked back and you've been thankful for those trials and those tribulations like you spoke on, because I feel like I'm kind of in that same spot. But we always pray for something and then we get it, and we aren't kind of looking at the next dimension and what's going to be required of us. So with that being said, has there been any times where you've seen your growth, but then once you're promoted to the next dimension, you're like, I don't know if I'm strong enough to do this again, or you don't know if you have the tools to continue, or that fear stimulates? What do you do to silence that and proceed?
So I think one of the panelists said, other people will see stuff in you that you may not see in yourself. And so as you start to go up into different phases, you have to realize that you didn't get there by yourself, and you can't stay there by yourself. So you have to look around. You have to find somebody that really has your best interests at heart. And I've heard a lot of people here talk about mentors, and they're very good. So you have to get a mentor to help you. The other thing I think that most leaders have to have is a coach. So a coach is different than a mentor. A mentor tells you about their path, if theirs is similar to yours, and shares their experiences. A coach, on the other hand, helps you solve problems. They help you think of a solution. So that's what a coach is. And then I think when you finally get to that, higher level, you need a sponsor, somebody who will open the door for you. You are ready to step through the door when you get a sponsor. And every organization has its own personality. I will tell you, the government is interesting. But people saw stuff in me. And so when they spoke of my name, then I walked in the room. My reputation was already there. But to get a seat at the table so that you could influence, so that you could open the door for somebody else is huge. And so to me, those are the three things you need. You need a mentor, you need a coach to help you think through things, and then you need a sponsor. And I think you'll be okay.
I think that's so powerful. And some of the things that I'll tell you that has helped me to progress and to stay where I am and to kind of just get through the storm is recognizing that my faith is instrumental, but how I operate in that faith is really what's going to test you. So if you have faith, then you can't operate with fear at the same time. And when you start to recognize that fear is prohibiting you from getting to where you need to be, you'll start to operate a little bit stronger every day in your faith. I had a friend years ago in college who told me, what would we be like if we didn't have fear? And I said, we would do exactly what God has called us to do. And nothing would stop us, because a lot of the times we're stopping ourselves along the way. So once you start to operate in that strength that you have, and again, going back to the sponsors and the mentors and the coaches that you have around you, and having a good solid group of people around you is so invaluable. Something that I've recognized along the way is that having friends who have the same morals, beliefs as you do, you don't have to agree with everything, but if you have that same base on, we're all going to encourage each other, we're going to lift each other up, then you start to feed off of one another. So no matter what you're going through, you have a tight circle that's always there. I can send a text to about 10 of my friends and say, hey, pray for me right now. There's no questions asked. There's like prayers up, and they'll start sending me scriptures. And it's like in that very moment, I start to feel a little bit relieved because I know I have someone in every aspect of my corner that's going to be able to lift me and encourage me. And no matter what, they know who I am, so they can be honest with me and say, well, I think in this situation, you should have said this, or maybe you should have pulled back a little bit more. Or I feel like, hey, girl, you did right. You should have stood your ground in this situation. And they can be perfectly honest with me. So when I approach that next situation or that next storm that I feel like I don't know what's going to be behind this door, I can start to reflect on these things and have people who are actually going to be honest with me and know who I am and can tell me, look, approach this a little bit differently than you did last time.
That was great. The only other thing I will add, and I see it all the time, no matter where I am speaking, no matter who I'm working with from a mentoring perspective or coaching or sponsoring, there are 3 C's, and I mentioned them at the graduation this past year, but it's the competent, and you have that. You're very competent. And this, I see it a lot with women, and I see it with people of color, but we're competent. Mm-hmm. The second C is confidence. Mm-hmm. The confidence starts to wane, and I see this in any age group. Any age group. The confident, especially in times where some call it dark, I call those opportunities. That's where you learn. You learn your most in those times. And the third C is courage. If you're in a situation, sometimes you have to step away. Sometimes you have to refocus. Sometimes it's having the courage to speak up or stand up. So it's those 3 C's. And I agree with the kitchen cabinet. You need a kitchen cabinet with no more than 5 people who can tell you sometimes you stink. That's it.
And thank you for that question. I appreciate you being bold and saying that, asking that question, because I feel like a lot of students wonder about stepping into their faith and having the confidence. You said competence, confidence, and courage.
Confidence is number 1 that we can always work on.
Okay, and then with the confidence, and I heard you say, I might just left my head. It just left my head. But on the confidence, being an African American woman, in your field, I hear a lot of executives, I hear a lot of strategic communicators, and you having to be the liaison between groups. And so with the respect that Ms. Phillips was talking about, being an African American woman, is it important to be respected or is it important to be loved?
I love that question. Respected
or loved?
Respected first. I had linemen, engineering, all white, primarily white. I mean, that was the environment that I worked in. Even on the corporate boards today, corporate boards, I'm the only woman on there and often the only black. Thank God for A&T's Board of Trustees, where I have our people there. It's really nice. Of course, we have others as well. But respect it first. Respect it as a woman. Respect it as an African American. I can love myself. Now, if you love me, that's okay too. But respect is number 1.
I think I totally agree. So I practice tough love. So they love me, but it's hard. But I am respected, and that is most important to me. I am an ethical leader, and I walk the talk. I tell all the young people that work with me, that I mentor and I coach, I tell them every time they walk in that building, they're on. Whether they believe it or not, you're on. So how you carry yourself, the company that you keep, it's very important. And as you all start to, embark on your careers, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Everybody's not going where you're going. Everybody's not positive. And you don't want to be aligned with those folks that are not going where you're going. There's a high cost for you to sit in these seats. It really is. And you represent this university. And when you go out there, you're ready. So let it shine.
I just want to add to that. Particularly as an African American woman who engages spaces that are predominantly male or predominantly Caucasian, it's very important that when we understand that we need to be respected, that there's going to be a level of tension and microaggression that we experience all the time. James Baldwin said to be black and conscious in America is to be in a constant state of rage. And so to always negotiate who you are within the space that you are so that you demand that respect without compromising who you are at any cost. It is very important when we walk in the room, like he said, that we hail all of the ancestors, our parents, all of the people that rallied behind you. You bring them to that space when you arrive. So we don't need to be, a thermometer where wherever we are, that's how we change. We need to be the thermostat in the room, that we change the temperature at all times.
That was really good. And thank you for those answers. And so, excuse my thought process. I have to get it rolling. Going into the being respected. So I think we can take from that it's important to be respected, but also to have love yourself. And so let me give a little quick background. I worked for NASA over the summer. That was my first out of the campus internship. And for the first time, I actually was doing PR, strategic communications work. And I said, okay, I'm going to be ready, da-da-da. And so we get to a meeting, and I'm expecting to be, like you said, the thermostat, to change something. I've been doing it on campus. I've been practicing. But yet in my body, he wouldn't come out. I had this issue where I just felt that it was important for me to just listen. But then there were times where I felt like I needed to say something. So are there ever times in your career where you felt that you needed to say something but you didn't? What could you say to students now who may enter that realm? What's some things to say? Or just don't be that hothead. You don't want to compromise your reputation.
I believe one of the skills that I would encourage all of you all to learn is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is knowing when to speak up, when not to know your triggers and somebody else's triggers. And this is really starting to come in the leadership realm now. So folks are starting to realize they were very effective at their jobs. They were leaders, but they just didn't get the opportunity. And what they're learning is the way they communicated, the way they came across, those kinds of things. All of that stuff is in emotional intelligence. And so you have to understand another person's perspective. So sometimes you do have to get into the room and watch and look. I was at Naval Intelligence for 27 years, so I went to the big DOD. So you're taking a big fish out of a small pond, and I went into a huge organization where I didn't know anyone. The one thing that I do have is I have great intuition. And so when I went into different leadership meetings and things like that, I would always watch the room. Who owns the room. And you start to realize who has influence, and you start to understand who people respect, who has the knowledge, all those kinds of things. And then you will know when to jump in, and it's the right time. And so that's one of the things that I really strongly encourage you to do is read up on emotional intelligence, understand what makes you tick so that you can manage it in the workplace, but also you can understand your colleague and how you can interact in a way that's seen as a partner and somebody who will help move the organization. When they look across the table, they're looking for a partner. Yeah, they'll notice that you're Black, but they're looking for a partner. And if you are seen as that partner, you can really make a difference in that organization wherever you are.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And so we're just going to move on to one last question, ladies, and we're going to ask that you each answer this question. And then we're going to go into a Q&A. We're going to ask one question from the audience, and we're going to go right into Ms. Alma Adams, Congresswoman Alma Adams. So our last question is, are titles important to be an impactful leader?
So just from my viewpoint, absolutely not. You don't have to have a title to have authority, and you don't have to have a title to have influence. And those are things that you kind of see in leadership. If you can influence someone to be their best selves and to uplift others around you and to inspire other people around you, and it can be directly or indirectly. We talked a lot about mentoring and coaching, but I've been in organizations where the quietest person is the one leading. The one without the biggest title is the one influencing everyone else. And they move in silence, but they make major moves on the back end. And you recognize it, and they're not always standing on their soapbox. They're not always tooting their own horn, but they're always making an influence on someone else, because you'll hear silently like, "Oh, I seen you did this," or "I seen you did that," and I'm changing the way I do things because I seen how you organized this, or I seen how you did this. But a lot of people who have the greatest influence, they're not always directly telling you how to do things. They're leading by example, and a title doesn't matter at all when you start to look at the impact that you can make when you're viewing the example that other people will set before you. And you all are very self-aware, and I think this generation is one that really believes in themselves, and I give you great props for that. But as you become more self-aware, what is it that ticks and what is it that drives you, and who in the room has that grace that you're like leaning more towards? What is it that they're doing that actually like pulls you towards them and what they're doing? And it's not always because they're saying something. What is it that they're doing that you're always paying attention to them? Take those things and you can see those leadership qualities in that person, and it doesn't have to be a title associated with anything once you lead by example.
Thank you, Ms. White.
So I don't believe you have to have a title either. You can lead from wherever you stand. And when you are a person of integrity, when you're a person that knows your craft, and you come in every day and you're given that 100%, people will follow you. But you have to be a person of integrity, and you have to be a person that walks your talk. You absolutely have to be. So you can lead from wherever you are. I tell my young mentees, grow where you're planted. So it may not be the great season right now, but make the best of it.
And I agree with that. However, as I'm looking over to my left and seeing our wonderful Congresswoman there, and I'm thinking, well, her leadership could really bring some dollars to North Carolina A&T State University. Sorry, Congresswoman. But when you think about that, there is a time when a leadership can actually be at the table and that can make strategic decisions that will enhance your financial portfolio. And so it is through those ranks, and I'm sure if I'd ask everyone here, if I had said, well, did you make more money at this position or this position? The world looks at that type of thing. And so since they look at it, we must understand how to navigate those processes to get us at the seat at the table, at the C-suite, or at the boardroom table.
Thank you, Ms. Hilda.
Amen. I couldn't agree more. I think instead of either or, it's a both and. And just to be transparent and share a personal story, when I graduated with my first master's, I was a teacher in New York making, at that time I was like 20 something, I was making $92,000. For some people that's not a lot of money, but as a parent of a child of immigrants at 20 something years old, that was a big deal to me. But I answered my call to ministry and I moved to Atlanta. And then after I graduated with my second master's, I took a job as an intern, which people would think, why would you even do that? I'm sharing this story because when I took the job as an intern, I made a position for myself. I raised the money myself. And just 1 year later, I'm now a national program coordinator. And so I say that to say, your gift will make room for you. Your gift will make room for you. And whatever the vision is that God has placed on your heart or in your life, God will also make provision. And so it is important that, yes, we serve and we bloom wherever we plant it, but it's also important that that title comes to affirm the work that we're doing as well as to make room for others.
Thank you for that. And just to go over with what each of you had contributed, Ms. White, what I got from you is what is it that ticks and what is it that drives you and pulls you in and gravitate towards it. Ms. Phyllis, I like walk where you talk. I think that's very important that we back up what we say. Don't just talk about it, but definitely be about it. Ms. Hilda, I appreciate we want a seat at the table. That should always still be considered because it is the executives like Congresswoman Alma Adams that propel us to a certain success that we want as African Americans. Excuse me. And Miss Natalie, your gift will make room for you. I'm going to write that on my wall. Thank you. And so I want to go ahead and open the floor for 3 questions from the audience. I'm going to start here with hoop earrings.
Hoop earrings on number 2. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Destiny Sharp. I'm a rising senior political science student, and I'm from Washington, D.C. And my first question is, you all are sophisticated, high-ranking, degreed women. You worked hard, and now you are successful. How do you not get a big head and remain compassionate to others?
For me, it's staying connected to younger people. Not that I'm that old, but staying connected to your younger self and seeing yourself in the people that you serve. For instance, I wrote the children's book, I Love My Future HBCU, and I did it on my cell phone when I was like just engaged. And it was to remind myself about the reason why God sent me on the journey that God sent me on, as well as to tell the story to other children so that they will be inspired to know that their future HBCU is a place where they can discover, where they can learn, where they can grow. And so, that humbles you when you remember that all of your life success is not just for yourself, but for others.
I'm going to go ahead and pass. I continue to mentor lots of students. I chaired the Young Adult Career Symposium. I have a STEM academy for middle school girls, and I'm really focused on middle school, I'll say minority girls, and it's held every summer at one of the middle schools in Wake County. This is in its 5th year, and so I measure that success. Many of the students today are in high school that have started in that program, been very, very successful. I mentor males and females, all age groups. And I learn more than I give.
One thing I'll say is just remaining humble and knowing that what you do every day, it serves a purpose bigger than yourself, bigger than your title, bigger than, you sitting at the table making decisions. What keeps me so grounded is hearing stories from students who tell me how financial resources has impacted their life and gave them the opportunity to be here to get the Aggie experience that they thought they could not get because they came from a family of 8 or because, my father died. And at that point, my mom was trying to raise my family on their own. And at that point, I thought I had to go to work and I wasn't going to be able to come to A&T. But just hearing the stories about how scholarships have impacted them and has given them that opportunity to be able to do what it is they want to do, and they get that degree and they go out and they change the world and they become those people who mentor the next generation, it just keeps you grounded, because it's like, how can you be cocky when this whole process is much bigger than who you are?
Thank you for that. We're going to take one more question. I know we're crunching time, but it's very important. I want to make sure everyone can get out.
And mine is not a question, is a thank you to the panelists, and especially the student panelists that came before that. I run an after-school program right here at A&T of immigrants and refugee students. And I really thank you, Ms. Parker, on all your comments from the time you start directing it right there to say that you are a child of immigrant parents, and these children that are here are children of parents, their parents are immigrants, and I am an immigrant myself. My son graduated here at A&T. So I really thank you. We have been coming to these events. Kiana is one of our mentors in the campus, and I heard a lot about where do I go to put mentorship. We are here, we're at Hines. So come and mentor and impact our students. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. We definitely appreciate you ladies' support. Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and close this segment. We do thank you, the professional panelists. We do hope to keep in touch over the years. I'm going to make you my mentors, all of you. Thank you again. Next, we will have very briefly, excuse me one second. Very quickly, we want to recognize in the audience Judge Avery Michelle Crump. She is going to be running for district attorney. If she does win, she will be the first female Black district attorney. So she's hoping to see you guys May 8th. Early voting is April 19th. Say something very, very quickly on your behalf.
Thank you. Early voting is April 19th. The election day is May 8th. I would really appreciate your support. I was a district court judge for 9 years, assistant district attorney for about 11 years. When I am elected, I will make history. I will be the first African American and the first female district attorney here in Guilford County. Please remember, early voting, April 19th. That's when it starts.
Thank you so much for coming out. And so now we're going to go ahead into the special performance.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Gabrielle Ramstor. I'm a senior psychology student here at A&T, and I will be performing a little song yeah, hope you like it.
And so now we want to begin. Now we want to go ahead and introduce Congresswoman Alma Adams to come up and speak. Okay, that's okay. Keynote speaker, Congresswoman Adams, Dr. Alma S. Adams was elected to serve to her second term representing the 12th Congressional District of North Carolina on November 8, 2016. After winning a special election on November 14th, Congresswoman Adams was sworn in immediately as the 100th woman elected in the 113th Congress. Representative Adams sits on the Committee on Education and the Workforce, the Agricultural Committee, the Small Business Committee, and the Joint Economic Committee. She currently serves in several leadership positions, including Assistant Whip for the Democratic Caucus, Vice-Ranking Member of the Small Business Committee, and Ranking Member of the Small Business Subcommittee on Investigations, Oversight, and Regulation. The Congresswoman is the founder of the first ever Congressional Bipartisan HBCU Caucus, and she is part of the Women's Caucus, Diabetes Caucus, Congressional Black Caucus, Progressive Education Caucus, Historic Preservation Caucus, AIDS HIV Caucus, Hunger Caucus, Medicaid Expansion Caucus, and the Art Caucus. Throughout her career, Representative Adams has promoted quality education for all students, spearheading legislation to boost funds for historically Black colleges and universities, providing nutrition, breakfast in schools, and supporting increased pay for teachers. For 40 years, Dr. Adams taught art history at Bennett College. While at Bennett, she led the effort to increase student civic participation, coining the phrase, Bennett Bells are voting bells, and organizing annual marches to the polls. As a former educator, Rep. Adams has dedicated her career to improving the lives of young people in her community. In 1994, Dr. Adams was appointed by her peers to serve in the North Carolina House District 26 seat. She went on to serve 10 terms in the State House. During her tenure, she rose to become the chair of the North Carolina Legislative Black Caucus and was instrumental in passing legislation that improved the climate for quality, affordable health care in the state. Representative Adams also pioneered the Displaced Homemakers Bill and successfully spearheaded the state's first minimum wage increase in 9 years. Before serving as a member of the North Carolina General Assembly, Congresswoman Adams served 9 years on the Greensboro City Council. Throughout her service to the 2nd District In Greensboro, Dr. Adams worked to create safe and affordable housing and the revitalization of neighbors. She began her political career in the 1980s by becoming the first African-American woman ever elected to the Greensboro City School Board. It was then that she made a lifetime commitment to electing social change in her community and beyond. Congresswoman Adams has one daughter, Linda Janelle Lindsay, one son, Billy E. Adams II, and 4 grandchildren, Jocelyn Lindsay, Aaron Lindsay, Billy E. Adams III, and Miracle Summer. Adams graduated from North Carolina A&T State University in 1968 and received her master's degree in arts education in 1972. She earned her PhD in arts education and multicultural education from the Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio in 1981. Please give a great, great welcome to keynote speaker, Congresswoman Alma Adams.
Yay!
Good evening.
Good evening.
Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride.
All right, my sisters and brothers, thank you so much for staying. And this has been really, you didn't really need a speaker. You had these great panels here. But I do want to just thank not only the student panels, but the other professional panelists that you had here tonight. I learned a lot listening from them, but it's always a pleasure to be back on this campus. I've been over here all day, actually, but I got my start here as a freshman almost 50 years ago, probably older than most of your parents, so many years. North Carolina A&T is the largest and the most profound HBCU in the country, and they made an investment in me. They nurtured and they molded me into what they knew I could become. And sometimes, you know, people see potential in you that you don't see in yourself. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I completed my work here, came not fully prepared, but A&T took the time to make sure that I got prepared. And then I went to finish my work here, and I went on to the Ohio State University, received my PhD, but only because of the North Carolina A&T. That is a story I tell everywhere because you are in the very best place at a very good time. This is a wonderful university. It's making investments in each of you. And, you know, I do want to acknowledge the fact that I actually got my leadership experience right here on this campus. I want to say to all of the fabulous women out there and the few good brothers that I am thrilled to be in your company because you are, in fact, the leaders of tomorrow. And if you could stand where I am and see what I see, then you see all of the black girl magic and what it really looks like. And I just want to thank you because of not only the determination, but the power that I see and feel in you. And nothing could be more powerful than strong women of color, I've got to tell you. Gathering and taking a stand, encouraging each other to boss up. I like that. You know, you got to understand what being a boss really means. It's not really about pushing folks around, but to boss up and to stop putting off your dreams until tomorrow, to boss up and take responsibility for the direction of your own life, to boss up and to make it happen today. And you know, Sister Hilda Ragland there talked about, I think we had a question up here about being a leader and about the titles. Well, I would probably have answered the question the same way that most of them, but I got to tell you, and I want to brag just a little bit, but just to say that sometimes titles do matter and that where you are at a particular time and place helps you to get the things done that you need to get done. I want to tell you that last week, if you've been following the tweets and on at 1600, you know, there's a storm up there, and we'll have to see whether it becomes a hurricane. I think it might real soon. But you know, we just passed the omnibus, which is really the budget, and we did have some success in that omnibus bill for our HBCUs. As you know, it's a priority for me because I know what this HBCU did for me. I spent 40 years on the campus of Bennett College, and I just know that we are specialists when it comes to working with the young people, especially those who look like me. We received and have in there a $10 million increase in funding for the HBCU Capital Finance Program. That's going, thank you. We got increases in TRIO and Gear Up by about $60 million, and we also have the HBCU Historic Preservation Program funded at another $5 million, and of course that's a bill that Congressman Clyburn and I had amended to put in there $35 million increase in Title III, and then Pell grants. Pell was raised by $175 million, and a shift to mandatory. Now that means we don't have to keep begging for that every year, but we do need to get some increases to inflation. And I do want to recognize the bossy brains behind this venture and the Boss Up initiative, and that's Kiana. Stand up and let's give this young lady a round of applause. And it's been very diverse. I guess when I first started reading about what you were doing, but to have a panel with different generations and to have diversity in terms of backgrounds and fields and also in gender, I think that that's really good. And that is really black girl magic in action. That's what it looks like. I'm just proud to be in the company of so many young accomplished leaders because this is the perfect training ground. What you receive on this campus right now, I can tell you, it's going to follow you for the rest of your life, and it's going to be really good. I spent 40 years teaching. And many of the things, some folks ask me today, I'm completing my second term in the U.S. House. And I taught 40 years, so people say, well, do you miss teaching? And I say, well, I miss my students, but I don't miss teaching because I'm still teaching every day, walking the halls of Congress. Because, people who get elected, and I want to talk about the sister over there, you really want to give her your support. We were out campaigning together a few years ago. But everybody who's elected probably shouldn't be. And they don't know everything, and they don't know all that they need to know. And so we have to continue to teach in this process. But this university is recognized as one of the greatest institutions. Earlier today, I was privileged to celebrate and share with the Small Farms Week, and I spoke for the luncheon. But as I thought about the history of what has happened here on this campus, with the remarkable leadership that actually begins with young people, with those 4 young students who went downtown, freshmen, first-year students, to sit in at the Greensboro counter when we weren't allowed to be served. When we think of Jesse Jackson and the leadership that he provided, not only as a student, but even as he's maturing, continuing to do that. Ron McNair, who came through this campus and who made us proud, and we lost him in the shuttle. And Mae Jameson, I mean, we've had so many, and much of that has come from the incredible mentoring that we have received on this campus. Certainly for me, it was the good teachers. It was the mentors that I had who nurtured me and who showed me the way to go and the way not to go. I tell you, even leaders need to have some folks who are, and I really support the kitchen cabinets. I have one myself right now, and sometimes they want to prepare dinner when you're not even hungry. They want to tell you what to do. But each day, I've tried to utilize good qualities of leadership by setting the bar high for myself. Now, I am and I'm getting ready. I've just launched my campaign for re-election, and unless you live in Charlotte and you vote there, you can't vote for me. But if you know somebody, just call them. But I want to just say that, the quality of a leader is reflected in the standards that they set for themselves. So it's really about what you want to project to other people. Nobody's going to follow you if you are not worthy of that. And it's not what you say and who you say you are. It's what you do and what we see you do. That's really what you demonstrate. So a leader, and I just want to, for me, and I've been in so many roles, and the Lord has blessed me and has allowed me to go from school board to Congress. He's allowed me to live on this earth 71 years and to do a lot of things. I know I don't look 71. And actually, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm fighting off a cold. But I've got to tell you that the thing that I've tried to do is to really be transparent about what it is I do. I believe that I heard someone talk about a seat at the table. If you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. And of course, Shirley Chisholm said, if you don't have a seat at the table, they don't invite you. Bring in a folding chair. And that's what we need to do. We need to make ourselves not only available, but once we get there, we need to be heard. We don't need to be sitting and be the spook, but sit by the door. When you put your foot in, you need to get all the way in. And when you get to the table, you need to be able to sit down and be a part of that. So, one of the things that's most important to me as I'm serving currently as the Congresswoman for the 12th District, which used to include Greensboro and A&T. I'm not legally your Congresswoman today, but I would say to you, the person that's representing you in Congress, you need to check them out real good. You need to quiz them real good. You need to make sure that the things that you're concerned about and that you need on this campus, that they are fully supporting. And, with all of the computers and technology that you have today, you can find out anything you want to find out about whomever you want to find out about it. So I just believe that a leader must care. And when you look at my history over all these years, from starting with the school board to where I am right now, the things that I fight for most and the things that I fight the hardest for are the things that I care about, because I know that the people that I represent care about those things as well. And they need. So when you talk about, and I would say to you, especially to the women in here, that all issues are our issues. And some of the sisters over here talked about money and how they managed and all those kinds of things. And that's good, because, there was a time when we didn't think women were supposed to be counting money and being on finance and all those kinds of things. When I was a student here, there were very, very few young women in engineering, not many in the STEM fields. But today that's different. You didn't find, so we had roles. I think I grew up in that era. Just in January, I had some neck surgery, and my nurse was a male. Okay, how many times would you think that those positions had been reserved coming through my era for women? But when I talk about women's issues, and I fight a lot for those, and of course I sit on education and the workforce, I sit on agriculture. That's important to us too, because when we talk about women's issues, I talk about the economy. When I talk about national security, I talk about health care, education and criminal justice reform and climate change, all of these, because there is the truth in the fact that all issues are in fact women's issues. So if you're a woman trying to raise a family, a good paying job is a woman's issue. Now, when I heard that sister say she was teaching and made $90,000, back then, that's pretty good. That's even better today. I think we need to pay teachers more. We need to respect them more. We need to arm them with the tools that they need to teach students, and we don't need to arm them with guns in the classroom. We have some foolish discussions going on in Washington these days. If you are an immigrant and you don't want your family torn apart, then immigration reform is a woman's issue as well. If you're a young woman working off college loans, then the crushing blow of student loan debt is a woman's issue. Since I mentioned that, just a sneak preview, on tomorrow in Charlotte, I'm hosting the third annual Women's Symposium. I'm going to be announcing in a press conference before that a bill that I have that I'm filing that will support women-owned small businesses and help to reduce their student loan debt. And that's about all I can say about it, but I do know that that is a big issue. And so we want to make sure that we care for them. If you're a black mother trying to raise a son, then you know Black lives is a women's issue. And so if you're a woman, period, any kind of woman, then you know that we deserve a country with equal pay and access to health care that is affordable and safe. And our fundamental right to take control of our own bodies. These are issues that motivate and push me each and every day because leadership is about service. And service is the rent that we pay for living on this earth. So the Congresswoman that you see standing here today is the same one who long ago dedicated her life to public service. Why? My daughter will tell you when folks say, well, how did you begin? My daughter will say it was because of her. And I asked her one day, what do you mean? She was young when I started out. She said, well, Mom, I remember they were closing my school and you were angry about it. And indeed I was. And today I'm still angry. I'm an angry grandparent because things are not well in our schools and with our children. So you have to keep doing for that. So when I first ran for office, I ran for the school board here in Greensboro. And as you heard, I was the first African-American woman elected. But you know, there were so many problems in the neighborhood. We still have those problems. I felt as a parent that I had to boss up. You know, there are lots of things that we can agonize about, but we don't need to agonize. We need to organize. And you know, that's right, we do. I tell people today, you know, everybody's going to have some stumbling blocks along the way. I would not doubt if all of us could tell those stories about things that maybe got in your way. Those stumbling blocks, I've learned that if you're a leader, you want to try to kick those stumbling blocks out of the way and use them as stepping stones to help you get to where you need to be and to where you're trying to get other folks to be. That's what bossing up is really about. And so I want to just continue to create a situation with the service that I provide about making sure that I'm transparent, because there are too many things that are going on right now in government that you don't know about, that they don't want you to know about. And so what I try to do is to be a stakeholder representative, bring the stake. If we're going to make decisions about you as students, we need to have some students at the table. This is why when I was in the North Carolina House, we fought hard to get a student representative on the Board of Governors, not one that just came and sat at the table, but one who had a vote. Because if you don't have a vote, you don't have a voice. You just have a seat. And that's not good. So as far as I know, you still don't have a vote on the Board of Governors. That's an issue. The Board of Governors actually makes all of the decisions for this university and the other 16 public universities. So it's important for you to know who you're putting there, but let's back up and say, know who you're putting on in your General Assembly, who you're voting for the House and the Senate. You know why? Because it is the General Assembly who appoints those folks to the Board of Governors. I can tell you right now, you don't have one doggone person on there who is an HBCU graduate or who probably knows much about it. Now, how in the world is someone going to speak for you when they don't know? So you have it in your hands. There are hundreds of thousands of students throughout North Carolina. But I'll tell you, if you're talking about being a leader, you don't just talk about it, you be about it. You know, it's about, you know, there's a difference between being concerned and being committed. Most of us are concerned about something. And when you're concerned about a problem, you just talk it to death. You don't do much about it. You have a meeting about the meeting. And usually your position is negotiable. But when you're truly committed, you don't just talk about it. You do something about it. You act, and your position is never negotiable. I will tell you, We need more action from our leadership. Now, let me say that when it comes to contemporary attitudes about government, that's a disturbing trend because people are losing faith in governing institutions, especially the executive branch and the Congress. And so I want the voices of my constituents to be heard through me. That's what I think as a good leader I should do. I want them to see what I'm doing on their behalf in Washington. So every single thing that you want to know about me, all you have to do is go online. You can see who I'm meeting with. You can see what bills we're filing. You can see my schedule. You can even see how I'm voting on things. And so all of the legislative issues that I'm fighting for, all of the financial disclosures, unlike the president, who we still don't know what's in his tax returns. But we're going to change that because I have a bill that will require you, if you're running for president, before you're seated, you got to reveal certain things. And we also want you to have some mental exams too. But I think some of that's important. But, let me just say that when it's really about opening the doors, not only for the people that you are serving if you're a leader, because they say if you think you're a leader, and you look back and nobody's following you, you're just going for a walk. Now, it is about folks following you, but it's also about you following the good advice of the people who are working with you. So let me just try to bring this to a close and say that, I basically learned my leadership early on. My mom did domestic work. For those of you who don't know what that is, she cleaned other folks' houses. And she did that so that I wouldn't have to do it because she understood the value of education and how important it would be in my life. It has been truly my passport. And so I had a very sick sister who died at 27, not quite at 27, with sickle cell. But throughout her life, those 26 years, I was up and down 3, 4 in the morning with my mom going to the emergency room because we didn't have health care. So leaders have to have compassion for other people. Now, I think it does you well when you have compassion because you've been there and you've done that and you know about it. But the problem that I see where I sit right now in the Congress is that we have people who have no compassion. They didn't have to write. They didn't have to get financial aid for their students to go to college. They wrote a check. They could do that. So they don't understand the needs that some of you may have for financial aid. They've never had a time when their stomach growled because they didn't have enough to eat. They had more than enough to eat. So I think that sometimes compassion comes through the experiences that you have. So I stand before you today as the 100th woman elected to the 113th Congress because I had the opportunity to learn from a strong woman, my mother, who passed away at age 90 in 2015. And she always instilled in me how important it was to get my education. Now, I was the poor black girl that walked the ghetto streets of Newark, New Jersey, and now I'm walking the halls of Congress. I'm not just walking the walk, I'm talking the talk too. So I encourage you to not only continue with your education, continue to boss up and to get to know your strengths, but know your weaknesses too. Because leadership is practiced not so much in words, it's an attitude and in actions. And so your attitude will determine your altitude and how high you can go. A leader is one who knows the way, who goes the way, and who shows the way too. So if I haven't told you, I'm going to tell you that you can boss up and you can do whatever it is you want to do, because leadership and mentorship, as we've heard tonight, run hand in hand. And so while you're mentoring, encourage your mentees as well. That is so important, because when you think about everything, it's really all about power. It's about empowering yourselves, but helping to empower others. Power is what makes the difference in lives and communities. The first thing that you have to understand about power and how to get it, Aggies, is you don't ask somebody how to get it, where it is, or can you have it. You take it. And once you've taken it, you use it. Boss up, y'all.
That concludes the Boss Up Initiative 3-part women's series. I thank you all for coming. Thank you all for who have been attending each program. And if this is your first time, I hope you had a very good time. We have a reception following, and that is it. Thank you. Yeah. Hmm? Hey.